Well, I absolutely did not expect that. Um, Harrison Burton to Wood Brothers Racing was definitely not in my silly season bingo cards for 2021. But, well, it's happened in a bombshell of a news. When did this news come out? It was 8 a.m., 9 a.m. It came out early this morning. Usually, most announcements are made at 2 p.m. And this one took me by surprise, not only because of the timing of the announcement, because it was announced early in the morning again, but also because of who is actually going where. Now, of course, first of all, uh, if you think I'm gonna be saying something about Cindric to the two car or something like that, I already made a video about that. You can check it out if you want to. But I already talked about Cindric in another video, so I'm not gonna be talking about him again because I would just be rehashing what I said in that video. Nothing much has changed since then. But Harrison Burton to the 21, I absolutely did not expect that. I for sure expected that DiBenedetto will actually renew with Wood Brothers Racing after Cindric. After Keselowski left Roush, I thought, well, Cindric is going to the 2 because he is a young driver for Penske and he is the son of the president of Penske. So if there is a seat at Penske, he's going to go there instead of taking over the 21. The main reason why Cindric was announced to the 21 was because Keselowski was expected to stay in the 2 car for 2022, but now that he's going to Roush, that plan goes out the window. Now Cindric takes over the 2 car, but Harrison Burton to the 21, that came out of nowhere. I'm not gonna lie, and of course this puts out a lot of questions. Specifically, first of all, why Harrison Burton? Why they chose him? Um, of course, Harrison Burton has money. He has the sponsorship. I believe he has Dex Imaging as a sponsor. He also has a few other sponsors like Hunt Brothers Pizza, Modern Buildings, and stuff like that. So, of course, it's clear that Wood Brothers Racing is going the money route, just like they did with DiBenedetto when Menards hopped on board. When Menards hopped on board with DiBenedetto, that's when they decided to have him join the Wood Brothers Racing in the 21 car. I am unsure if Menards will continue to stay with the 21 team. Now, of course, they're gonna stay with Ryan Blaney. They're gonna still be sponsoring the 12 car, but are they gonna be sponsoring the 21 car? Are they gonna still be doing that? That remains to be seen. But I believe that Wood Brothers Racing they will still have the sponsorship to actually stay afloat for at least a few more years. Because of course they've pretty much survived a lot based on the Motocraft sponsorship. So they obviously, and with NASCAR getting more expensive, at least until now, the next gen car is expected to have to cut costs. There's a dog barking right now. If you can hear him, I'm sorry about that. I'm recording this in a I've recording this in a very isolated part of my house because of that. So if you can still hear my dog barking, I'm sorry about that. I did my best. But yeah, we're Harrison Burton to the Wood Brothers Racing, something I really did not expect. And again, a lot of people are saying are really unhappy about this. A lot of people saying that DiBenedetto's getting screwed over again, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear this because a lot of people like Matt DiBenedetto, myself included. I like the guy and his personality. I believe he embodies what an underdog in NASCAR is like. But I mean, the expectation was that DiBenedetto was going to bring Wood Brothers' 100th Cup win, and he hasn't done that. He's had a few near misses here and there. Las Vegas, the both Las Vegas races, and Talladega last year, as well as a few other good runs here and there. But none of that is too significant at the moment. For the most part, he has been very mediocre compared to. He's been like a slightly better version of Paul Menard, but he's not as good as Ryan Blaney was in 2017 when he was with Wood Brothers. So, and DiBenedetto is not any younger. He is getting older, up there in age. I believe the guy is nearing approaching 30 years old if he hasn't turned 30 yet. That's another thing that could actually have impacted the decision. Another reason that could have also impacted Penske's decision to put Harrison Burton in the 21, because let's be honest, the main reason why Wood Brothers put him in that car uh, was because they're Team Penske satellite team. Whatever Penske says, they do. If they're gonna do something, they need the approval from the captain himself. And the main reason why Wood Brothers, or let's say Roger Penske, put Harrison Burton in the 21 was because of a reason that I actually discussed again in my previous video talking about Cindric and when Keselowski left to Roush Fenway Racing. I talked about how Team Penske never has had any young drivers in their pipeline outside of Blaney and Cindric. And now they actually have not only do they have a young driver in Harrison Burton, but a driver that they actually got from another camp. He's still a young driver. He's actually younger than what Keselowski and Logano were when they joined Penske. So that's actually good. And now all of a sudden, Team Penske's future looks even brighter. Even if Harrison Burton is a bit of a raw talent, and he's gonna need some patience and development because once again, this move came out of nowhere. We seriously did not expect this guy to join Wood Brothers. We expected him to go to the second 2311 car. Of course, Kurt Busch and Ross Chastain, the Trackhouse situation, has that situation up in the air. But Harrison Burton was in the card as a potential 2311, as a second 2311 driver. Now that's no longer going to be the case. And of course, once again, speaking of 2311, and most importantly, speaking of Joe Gibbs Racing, once again they have already lost another Toyota driver to a rival manufacturer, and this is nothing new. We have seen Joe Gibbs Racing do this in the past with drivers, with young drivers, before they even get a chance to drive for them in the Cup Series. We saw this with Amirola back in 2007. The controversial Milwaukee race, of course, played a factor in that, no doubt about that. There was also Matt DiBenedetto himself back in 2010, 2011. He was cut from his part-time stint at Joe Gibbs Racing, possibly because of lack of sponsorship. There was also Bubba Wallace in 2014. When it came time for him to move up to Xfinity, they decided that they were going to prioritize Eric Jones and Daniel Suarez over him, so he went to Roush for Xfinity. Then of course, there's also Noah Gragson in 2018. When it came time for him to move up to Xfinity, he went over to JR Motorsports, and now you can add Harrison Burton to the list. There may actually be kind of a few drivers that I missed here and there because, of course, Joe Gibbs Racing has a history with their young drivers. But to be honest, that actually comes with the territory of having too many mouths to feed. As once again, Joe Gibbs Racing, it's the only Toyota team in the Cup Series. Chevrolet, they have Hendrick and RCR. There's also Trackhouse now. Colleague Racing is joining the stable. Ford, they have Penske, they have Roush now with Keselowski. They also have, of course, Stuart Haas. Front Row Motorsports is on the rise as well. So of course that's also something. And of course, another question we all have is how is Harrison Burton going to perform in that 21 car, the Wood Brothers ride? Because a lot of people are saying that he is not ready for Cup, and frankly, I kinda agree with them, and I can see why they would think like that. But at the end of the day, it's not like Harrison Burton is the worst choice for a driver. There are way worse choices. There are way worse drivers out there that you could have chose over Harrison Burton. Trust me. But of course, Harrison Burton had that hot streak to close out the 2020 season, but he has been kind of disappointing this Xfinity season. He hasn't been able to win races. He hasn't looked as competitive as he did just to start last season, where he won two races early in the season, and then he won two races late in the season to close it out and gain momentum for this season. A lot of people thought that Harrison Burton was gonna be like a championship 4 driver in Xfinity. He hasn't really panned out, of course. So again, a lot of people are gonna say he's not ready for Cup, and I can see why. If, in my opinion, Harrison Burton needs one more year in Xfinity before he moves up to the Cup Series. But then again, he was a disappointment in the Truck Series, and people said that he didn't deserve to go in Xfinity, that he was getting rushed, and he broke out in Xfinity. He won 4 races and won Rookie of the Year. So maybe this is just a case of a sophomore slump for him, and maybe he goes up to, when he moves up to the Cup Series, he actually performs better than expected. I wouldn't put my money on that, honestly, though, because again, the jump from Xfinity to Cup is just so insane. There aren't as many young drivers in Xfinity as they are in the Cup Series as they are in the Trucks and Xfinity Series. And the young drivers over there, they're already competing for wins. I mean, there's William Byron, Ryan Blaney, hell, Chase Elliott is the defending series champion. Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick is already all but assured a playoff spot for himself. Of course, there's Cole Custer, who's having a sophomore slump, but yeah. Harrison Burton is not really going to. Will Harrison Burton set the world on fire? No, but then again, he is far from the worst choice. Of course, I would rather have them keep DiBenedetto, of course, but again, there's so much worse he could have done. Again, Penske needed a young driver, and it looks like Harrison Burton was the one that they went with. So let's see how it pans out for them. And finally, the last question I have: what's gonna happen now to the Xfinity car of the 20? Not only to the 22 team, because of course, Cindric's gonna be moving up to the Cup Series next season. What's gonna happen now to those rides? The 22 Penske car and the 20 JGR car in the Xfinity Series, because Cindric and Burton were racing both rides. Is there a possibility that Matt DiBenedetto can actually take over one of those rides? Well, I'm giving him more of a chance to take over, to go down to Xfinity. If DiBenedetto goes down to Xfinity, I think it's gonna go to the 22. And here's why. Joe Gibbs Racing has a history of prioritizing their young drivers over everything else. We saw this most notably with Matt Kenseth, when they screwed him over in favor of putting Eric Jones in the car, because they wanted to rush him. They wanted the young driver in a car as soon as possible. I don't know if it's because of sponsorship or because it's the Gibbs way of treating their veteran drivers. But now that the 20 Xfinity car is free, my assumption is that it's gonna be Chandler Smith, the guy that's gonna take over the 20 car for next season. Because if you guys didn't know, Chandler Smith is actually a JGR development driver. So if Chandler Smith, my money is on Chandler Smith to take over the 20 Xfinity, that 20 car in Xfinity for next season. So I think if Penske actually, of course, Penske again, they might shut down their Xfinity program because Roger Penske was actually talking about that during the pandemic, that they could possibly be shutting down their Xfinity program. So even if DiBenedetto goes, so if DiBenedetto goes down to even if DiBenedetto goes down to Xfinity, I really doubt it's gonna be for either Penske or Gibbs. So are there any opportunities for the Cup Series? Well, of course there's 2311 as well, the second 2311 car, but I think Hamlin and MJ are gonna monitor more about what's going on between the Kurt Busch and Ross Chastain situation over at Trackhouse, and they're most likely gonna pick up whoever Trackhouse left behind. My money is on Kurt Busch, of course, but hey, maybe DiBenedetto could jump in the fray as well. He has ties with Toyota through not only because he was a JDR development driver, but also through Levine Family Racing as well. He was a development driver for, or not a development driver. He was a driver for that satellite team, for that JGR satellite team, back in 2019. So not too long ago. There's also a possibility that he could take over the number 10 car for Stewart-Haas Racing, since Amarola is in a contract year and his season has been disastrous. So he might be, his stint at Stewart-Haas Racing might be all bought over. There's also, of course, the 98 car in Xfinity, which, now that I think about it, has a pretty slight chance of happening. Of course, DiBenedetto is gonna need some sponsorship money to make that happen, but the talent is definitely there. And of course, either him or Ryan Preece, if Matty D goes to the 10, then Preece can just go to the 98 in Xfinity. And same thing could happen if the reverse is true. If Preece goes to the 10, then DiBenedetto might slot into the 98 if sponsorship does happen. I know there's rumors of Hailie Deegan going there in Xfinity, but honestly, that at this point, that would just be, with how disappointing she has been in trucks, that would honestly be as bad of a move as Riley Herbst is looking like right now. But honestly, if I had to pick who would take over that car, could be Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece, I got my money on Ryan Preece going over to that car, the number 10, because he has ties with Kevin Harvick and his management group. And my assumption is, assuming Amarola gets released, Preece is gonna take over that ride. And once again, that's not a chance for DiBenedetto. Even if Matty D is a better driver than Ryan Preece, I believe is gonna get that ride because he has the connection with Kevin Harvick through his management group. He is represented by Kevin Harvick Incorporated, because that's how he got that Truck Series gig with David Gilliland Racing, and he actually won a race in Nashville, so that could have actually been an audition for that SHR ride. Who knows? So it's really rough out there for Matt DiBenedetto. The outlook really became rough out there, but of course, we all knew that DiBenedetto wasn't gonna stay at Wood Brothers beyond 2021, but that was before the Keselowski news popped up. Then all of a sudden it became, well, Cindric to the 2 and DiBenedetto stays in the 21, so we're all happy. Apparently not. It looks like DiBenedetto got screwed over anyways. Even with Cindric going to Penske, DiBenedetto is still left out of a ride. And of course, a lot of people are gonna say it's unfair, but I mean, it was never a guarantee that DiBenedetto was gonna keep his ride. We need to get that. That's for certain. DiBenedetto was never assured to keep his ride, even after Cindric went to drive at Penske. So Of course, it sucks for him, but as he said in that Instagram video he posted, um, nothing but moving forward. He's already searching for new opportunities, and I really hope that it. I really hope that everything works out for him. So yeah, that's it. Silly season. It's wild. It's like the wild wild west out there. This might have been like the this. I don't know if I've said this before, but this could actually be like the wildest silly season in NASCAR history. Between Trackhouse buying an entire team, Keselowski getting an ownership stake in becoming a part owner in Roush, and now out of nowhere, Harrison Burton, or rather Penske, stealing a prospect from another JGR prospect. Um, who knows what's gonna happen next?